Flosstube, welcome back to Snickerdoodle Stitch, or if it's your first time here, thanks for joining me. My name is Kathleen and this is a channel about cross stitch. So I hope everyone is doing well. You'll have to forgive me if my voice starts to get scratchy. We have been getting some of the smoke here from the wildfires in Canada have made their way all the way down to us. Although today when I got up this morning, the skies were finally clear blue. But the last couple days, it was very hazy looking outside. And if you went outside, you could actually, it didn't exactly smell like smoke, but it didn't smell pleasant either. So I've been thinking about everybody who's dealing with much more than that. Thank you everybody who has left comments or liked or subscribed my channel. I really appreciate it. And a special thank you. So in my last video with stitching, I showed some things that I kitted up, and one of them was a modern folk embroidery that I want to stitch with sulkies, and I was struggling to find the right red, and a couple people recommended some red numbers to me in sulkies, so I'm going to give those a try. And it looks like next week I may be at one of my LNSs on my way up to StitchCon, so I'm hoping that she has all of the reds in stock and I can actually do a comparison in the sunlight and pick out which one I want to use. But thank you. I had another question on the Madame Chantilly pattern that I had shown, and it is actually on the main chart. It is charted in French, but they also have it charted in, I think, Italian and in English. So it's an Oscar Wilde quote, and in English it says, "Wisdom is to have dreams big enough not to lose sight when we pursue them." So that's the English translation that they have charted. But this was the pattern, and I have decided that this will be a start that I'm going to do at StitchCon. So it's been in my StitchCon pile, and I need to remember to put this pattern back with that, or I won't be happy when I get there. So I actually got lots of stitching done this week. I'm not quite sure how I got this much done, but it's a lot for me. I work full-time and had some things going on last weekend. But the first thing, and this is a little out of season, but I did a full finish. I made the pillow with scattered eggs. This is a pattern from Shepherd's Bush. I don't have the pattern with me. I put it away after I showed just the finished piece. But it is Shepherd's Bush. These are not the called for buttons on here. There's a bunny, there's a chick. These are a couple little eggs, and there's a little tiny purple flower right here, if I can go the right direction. I stitched this on 20 count fabric, but it is 4/2, so 4 threads on my needle over every 2 threads of the fabric. So it's charted, designed to make a little tiny pillow, but or piece, but I wanted to do a bigger piece. This is a standard 12x16 pillow form. I put this cute little bunny fabric on the back, and I put a zipper. So I like to put mine in with zippers, and I'm going to show you why. Oh shoot, I forgot my pillow. Hold please. Okay, now I'm back. So what I like to do is just have a couple pillow forms. So this is just a 12x12 pillow that I have in my living room right now for summer. But again, it has a zipper on the bottom, and with the zipper finish, I just swap out the covers. So I have different seasons, and my plan is to do that same thing with the scattered eggs pillow. I don't have any 12x16 covers right now, except for that one, but I have another one in the works that I'm going to show you. But for example, this pillow, this is what I have now. I don't know where this pattern was from. I think it was maybe from one of the quilting magazines. I don't have it anymore. But at Easter, I put one of these little bunnies on, and I have a couple pillows like this. And there are different bunnies. Some of them are kind of standing up, and then some are crouched down like this. But it is a pattern that's available online on Etsy from Ellis and Higgs. They have some really cute stuff, but this was the bunny that I put on there. And then I have a Christmas one, or winter one. I use this all winter. And again, it's just the zipper at the bottom so that it makes it really easy to swap them out. And then during the off season, this is basically all I'm storing. I'm not storing all of these finished pillows. Unlike my friend Andrea, who if I strongly recommend checking out her Instagram. It's Miss Andrea Quilt. She does beautiful quilting, but she also has become an avid cross stitcher. So she has a nice mix of both, and she does some really cool stuff. But she has a picture, she teaches a pillow making class. And so she has a picture of like 30 different pillows, and I'm not storing all those pillow forms. So I prefer to put the zipper finish on, and then I can just swap out the cover, no problem. So for this one, my 12 by 16, I did the fully finish on the scattered eggs, but I also started this week. I've had this project Quarantine from With Thy Needle and Thread. It's this pattern. And again, it's one that is intended to be a small. It is on 18 count. It would only be 7.5 by 2 3/4. And I am doing it again on that same 20 count fabric, 4 threads over 2, and it is coming out like this. So I got pretty far with it. All of the home, the dresses, the little pin cushions. This is the start of spools of thread over here, but I don't have the thread on yet. It uses a long stitch wrapped around to make it look like thread, and I don't like to use my hoop on those, so I'll come in and do those last. What I did not realize, and it's something to consider if you did do this as a small, on something like 18 count, is that this little house and tree and things that are inside this embroidery hoop, that is actually charted for 1/1. So this would be tricky to do on Ada. It's not impossible. You just have to force the needle through the middle of each square of Ada. But it is charted for 1/1, and it doesn't really lend itself to just going ahead and doing it over 2 threads. Let me put that way up close so you can see. See a little teeny tiny house. Sorry, the color got funky when I held it up close, but at least you can see the pattern. So I've started the 1/1 here. I have the grass done, part of a little flower bush thingy, and then part of the house. But that, although it's not very big, I think I figured that it was about 40 by 40 or 50 by 50 over 1. So that's where I'm at with that. And that will finish just short of 16 inches wide. So I'll have to put some fabric on the top and bottom, similar to what I did here. I just won't have it on the sides. And then the stitching actually ends about where this linen fabric is finishing on these. So I'll just put fabric along the top and bottom and use it on that same pillow form. So I've got that in the works. Sorry, I'm starting out with not as much stitching here. I had shown this before. It's a Blackbird design. It is going to be my smalls exchange for my next retreat. And what I worked on this week for it was a bag. So I used the same fabric that I've used for finishing the flat fold. The fabric is also by Blackbird Design, and the back is a different line, but it is also Blackbird Design. And then I made one of the little, I did a video just about these, but I made one of the zipper pulls. And it's on here with the lobster claw, so if somebody doesn't want to use it as a zipper pull, they can take it off and use it for something else. And for it, I just used one of the little roses from the fabric, so it will all match. If I can get it to show up without the ring light glare. What I did find with this one is that when I glued it down, the fabric weave shows a little bit more on the dark colored fabric. So just one thing to consider if you're making that kind of super pull like I did the demo for. It doesn't look bad, it just looks different. It startled me at first, and then I realized what was happening there. And then I just lined it with actually it would be a really pretty linen. It's kind of a light mottled cream color fabric, which reminds me of linen. But so that will be a smalls exchange for an extra treat. And then stitching. So I started I started two things that I have kitted up. I had shown the tiny Modernist stitching Mends the Soul. Well, actually it's just called Stitching Mends. I am stitching this one on 32 count Grace Notes. Blueberry Milkshake is the name of the fabric. And this is my start. So I have all of the pin cushions along the bottom done, and I have started up on the flowers, and that was just one day of stitching. So this is going to go pretty quickly. I may just keep working on this one so that I have a finish as I'm working through some of these larger projects. And there's nothing peculiar about that pattern. It's going to go very quickly. This next one I've shown before in progress, but it has been over a month, so I thought I would show where it was at and a mistake that I made. And it is my temperature chart. And my temperature chart that I'm doing is called Motifs, and it's by Zahra Design Studio. She is on Etsy, and I love just the little motifs for each day. I knew if I had to do something like stitch outlines or bookshelves that it was going to be too easy to fall behind, and stitching just the little motif, I've done really well at keeping up with it. So last time I showed it, I was up in here, so I didn't have a whole lot of yellow. Now it has really started into the yellows, and then I've got this one crazy red day, which is supposed to be my hottest color, and I was not at all happy about hitting that color as early in the summer as we hit it. So what I'm not happy about on this is my yellows. There are actually in here, there's actually 3 different colors, and you can kind of tell, but it is not the contrast that I was hoping for. These are the threads picked out, and of course the light is doing something crazy to them. They looked like they had more contrast before I started, so they were to go, this is coolest with the green, and then it starts to get warmer over to the orange, but they are so close in color that I'm not really getting a lot of contrast on here. I mean, if you look, you can kind of see that there are some, sorry, my camera's in the way. There are some like here that's definitely a different color, but it's just, it's sort of just looking like a big row of yellow. But I think once I start having more of the orange and red come in, So these colors down here, these last four, haven't really been used yet, other than one orange and that one stupid day of this hottest color for me. I think once those start coming in, that long row of yellow won't bother me anymore. Right now, I was debating like picking some new, swapping out a couple of the yellows and picking a new, more orange, and tearing things out, and I decided that was crazy. It's just going to stay like it is. There are too many things to stitch to spend a lot of time tearing things out. So my next thing that I worked on was Cricut Collection Bed and Bath 1. I had shown this, and last time all I had on it was the tile that's up above the tub. And this tub is a lot of really boring weight to stitch. So I said that my goal was to stitch something so that I could get down to that weight tub and get it outlined. And then it would be really good StitchCon stitching, because it will become a little bit mindless. There's a couple like little bubbles to work around, but they're not even something that would have to be in the exact right place. You just want some little bubbles in there. So I want to stitch this at StitchCon. I am stitching this on 20, I think it's 28 count. It might be 32. Lagoon Blue. And I got her little head done. Her headband is actually done in white as well, so I can stitch the headband on, and then I've got the bathtub all outlined, so it's ready to go for stitching. So this is going with me to StitchCon to get some stitching on it done there. And the white bathtub is in Dinky Dye's Natural. I'm not doing it in DMC. Everything else on it will be in DMC except for the tile and the bathtub. And those light colors, I just like the coverage of a silk better than DMC. So that's my plan for that. The last thing I stitched on, and I mentioned wanting to do this, there's a stitch along going on with Primrose Cottage Stitches, and it's for this Welcome to the North Pole, and each little section is a month starting June through November. So you have it done, you know, depending how early you get it done into November, even if it's the end of November, you could have it up for the holidays this year, which is nice. I originally thought if I did it on 28 count that it was going to be sized about right for a 10 by 20 frame, which is easy to come by, and I just want it in a plain 10 by 20 frame. And I'm doing it on Fiber on a Whim Milk and Honey, but I'm finding that this fabric is actually a little tighter weave, so it's coming out about 30 count. So I'll have to see when I get it done if it's going to leave more of a margin than I want. It even at a true 28 count, it was going to be a wider margin than what is framed here. But I'm going to have to see if at 30, is that margin starting to get out so far that I'm not going to want a 10 by 20. But I made it pretty far on this. The first couple nights I worked on it, I thought, oh, good grief, this is a lot of stitching. What was I thinking? This thing's going to take like a whole week of every month to get done. There's a lot of color changes in it. So there's a lot of like 4 or 5 stitches here of one color, and then another 4 or 5 stitches of another color. But what I started to do was just keep 2 needles threaded. So I didn't keep all of the colors threaded. But like when I was working on the North Pole, I had 1 needle threaded with the light blue and 1 needle threaded with the dark blue. And these poles with the greenery around them. I did the same thing there. There's actually 2 greens and 2 reds and white in those poles. So it's a lot of color changes, but it's coming out really cute. I'm happy with it. And I'm almost done. All I have left to do for June is like 4 more rows of white at the bottom. I already have the blue snowflakes stitched there. So just got to get a few more rows of white, and then June will be done. So we'll see. I might even just finish that this weekend, and then I can set it aside until July. I would be tempted to work on it more now and get ahead, but since there's a holiday beginning of July, I'll probably just wait. It's not going to StitchCon with me, although that is more just plain white that I could stitch really mindlessly. Okay, I'll have to think about that one some more. Let me think, what's next? So I talked last time about these little teeny tiny embroidery hoops, and I got an entire bag of them on Amazon. And on Amazon it said that the inside was 1 inch, but the inside is maybe 2 threads wider than 3/4 of an inch. So they are tiny. That means on like 32 count fabric, 1/1, I can only use a design that's 24 by 24. So they're pretty small. That's a 1/1B that I showed previously. But I dug through my patterns trying to find things that had motifs that would be small enough, so I thought I would share some of those. I like things that challenge me to look at my patterns differently. I learned that I did rubber stamping for years, and I always like things that challenged me to see a stamp for something other than what it was called or what the original intention was. So I started with smalls, and the JBW designs, all of these in the rounds, I mean, any one of those little kitties would easily fit in the hoop. Or we've got Love in the Round, and it has like a little basket. It's got a basket of flowers. There's a crown, a key, a swan, some hearts. Any of those would fit in there. The French Country Hot Air Balloon has some even tinier balloons on it. And some little heart things that would work in there. Okay, I don't know what that one is. This Sweet Nothings, those, let me see if I can get this to focus. Those teeny tiny girls in there, they actually would fit. They are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're only about 12 by 14 maybe. So those teeny tiny little girls would be really cute in there. And then this last one, Sweet Nothings Garden Wisdom, it has some little birds, and even this gate at the top with the flowers, it would fit. Sorry, when I get close it wants to become blue for some reason. So those were kind of obvious. Then I looked, I had this Little House Needleworks, and that little girl walking the dog would fit. It's actually few enough stitches that 1/1, the little girl walking the dog would fit in that hoop. That would be cute. Oh, and that pattern is Bring Home the Tree. It's an ornament of the month from 2011. And then this one, Heartstrings Samplery Festive Little Fobs Tea Time Edition. These are intended to be little fobs, so they are small enough that any of them could be stitched whenever one and would fit in that ridiculous little 3/4 inch wooden hoop. The Lori Holt stitch cards, this is the only one I have. I know she has a whole series. I fell in love with this one and actually had my local quilt shop order it for me. But the outer frame wouldn't fit, but any of the little things that are inside, the strawberry, the teapot, the teacup. I'm not sure about the strawberry kind of 4-part motif in the upper corner, but those would actually fit in there. This came out at Market. It's called Always Time for Tea from Sweet Wing Studio. And it's 59 by 59, but the teapot would fit. So I may do that little teapot. I'm a big, well, I like coffee too, but I'm also a big tea drinker. I was fortunate enough to live in London when I was in college and then spent some time in Northern England, and I fell in love with tea, and so I like anything with teapots. This is called Pincushion with a Cherry on Top, and it is from New York Dreamer Needleworks. But what I wanted to maybe stitch from there are just a pair of cherries with the stem. They would easily fit, or the little tiny ladybugs. The ladybugs or the cherries, either one would fit in the little hoops. And then we all have, I'm sure, different stitching themed patterns. So for example, this is from Tiny Modernist Vintage Sewing Set. That one is relatively new to my collection. I think I showed it because I got it at Stitch North because Tiny Modernist was there. But any of these things with, here's another one, a Stitcher's Garden. That's from Tiny Modernist. Any of these little sewing implements, the spools of thread, the little safety pins, the pin cushions might be a little too big. The floss bobbins, the little flower with the button heads. These are a little bit bigger, but this is Matter in Hand from Jeanette Douglas. But the scissor keepers here in the middle in the spools of thread, those would definitely fit. I don't think, oh yeah, so this is called Stitcher from Luminous Fiber Arts, and it has some cute sewing implements, and that little bird at the top is cute as well, and those would fit. The bird's going to be a tight squeeze on 32 count, 1/1, but like this pin cushion fits, or the thimble, even these little Quaker star motifs. So I was looking at things with Quaker star motifs. Any of the tiny town patterns. So I have the Big Hearted Town and the Patriotic Town. I must have really liked these towns. And then the Seashore Town is the newest one I bought. They wouldn't all fit, but some of the things in here would. Some of the, like, the sailboat, the crabs, the seagulls down here. On some of them, the smaller houses, like this little house that's on the hill, without the hill, just this cute little house would fit. And then looking at patterns completely differently, I love these patterns from Soda, Sense of the Daily Art. This is way too big, but these little chicks, and I think when I looked, even this bicycle, the bicycle would be a tight fit, but these little chicks, this pattern is called Happy Village, and I doubt I will ever stitch the whole round thing, but what I wanted to stitch was this little girl with the cat next to her. So I may stitch that. This is also from Soda, and it's called The Little Hair Shop. And again, I'm not sure what I would do with this if I stitched it, but I love this pattern. They are so stinking cute. But this little cat down here at the bottom actually would fit in that little teeny tiny hoop 1/1. And 1/1, you might get away with on him with even just stitching the back stitching and a little bit of pink in the nose and ears, and he would be cute. But these little girls in all these poses at the hairdressers were just too cute, and they cracked me up. That one was too big. Then I looked at some patterns just for things like these little birds. So this is Perret Samuilov. It's the lace maker. Oh, that's the designer. It's called the lace maker. It's from Creative Poppy. But these little birds at the bottom would fit, or even part of this little sprig of flowers. Looking at things like some of my Quaker patterns, some of the smaller Quaker motifs on here would fit in the little teeny tiny frame. This is Spring Heart from Christine Designs, and some of the smaller things like single flowers, these little water cans at the top, those would fit. And then my other thought was, I just looked at some of my alphabet samplers. This is Alphabet en Blanc from Sue Hillis Designs, and I really want to do that one. It's actually fairly small. And this is this is another JBW Designs Rose Motif sampler. But if you knew who you were gonna, if you were gonna give the little I lost my charm now. If you were gonna give it to somebody, if you knew their initial, I thought it would be really cool just to do one of the fancy little monograms in there too. So anyway, I had a good time tearing apart my patterns, and then decided I needed to stop hauling things out because I now got to put it all away. I have a little bit of haul to show. It's some things that I missed showing when I came back from Florida. From Stitchy Pros, I got this Be Happy needle minder, and I really need to stop buying needle minders because I don't really use them that often, but they're cute and they're fun to collect when you go places like retreats, and this Be Happy was just cute. Another thing that I bought, and this was from Chantel's 141. She's a Flosstuber and has a shop. And she has, now ignore the rubber band. That's just me holding these pieces together because this comes flat and shipped flat. So I need to paint it, and then I'll assemble it and then put a final coat of paint on just to cover any, you know, kind of assembly glue or anything. But this is designed to hold square pieces that Hands On Design has out. But It's like a 5-inch square, and it's the perfect size for all kinds of smalls. So I didn't buy the hands-on design patterns. I may have one. But I did buy the box to paint, and then what I would like to do is just glue a magnet on, and then if I have smalls that are seasonal or that I want to rotate that are square or that can be square, I'll just mount them and swap them out on here. But it's a really cute little shallow tray, and I have a perfect place that I can sit that, so that makes it handy. I also bought, this is called 3D Acorn Mouse from Cotton Pixels, and it's this cute little mouse that you stitch and then assemble, and he gets stuffed. I wonder what size he is. Oh, 3.5 by 4. Okay, that's not too bad. On 32 count, he's 3.5 by 4, so there's not a lot of stitching on him. I think it's just the one side. I don't think the other side gets stitched, so that's like maybe an evening of stitching, and then it'll take me another month to get around to assembling him, but I got that. Carolyn from Lindy Stitches was at my table, and she gifted me this Halloween Quaker from Needle Art by Wendy. She stitched it and finished it there, and I was oohing and ahhing over her finished piece, and she gave me the pattern. So I'm not sure when I will start this, but it will be a nice fall piece. In fact, if I just did the pumpkin solid without the jack-o'-lantern face, it would truly be fall and not Halloween. There's nothing else. I mean, the crow's a little bit Halloween, but not really. So yeah, it would be, I've been looking, I've got a lot of Halloween. I've been looking for some things that I can leave up longer than Halloween, like up through Thanksgiving before I put out all the Christmas. I also bought this from Val's Little Stuff, and it's called HoHoHo, and it is this little cat in the stocking, and I may stitch that one in July. I have a piece of Lugana where I was stitching a bunch of ornaments 1/1 on it, and I have 5 done, and there's room for 1 more, and I don't want to start cutting it apart to do assembly until that last one is done, because it's easier to put the hoop on if I don't have a little tiny piece of fabric that I'm trying to work on. So that may be July. And then this was one of the things that came out at market that I really wanted, and I hadn't seen it anywhere. I looked at my local shops and they hadn't gotten this one, and then I looked online, and I don't know, I think wherever I was looking it was sold out, but it's by Puntini, and it's just 1 more chapter. They already had, I think it's just 1 more stitch, but this is just 1 more chapter, and Other Lies I Tell Myself. And anybody who's a late night reader is familiar with this phenomenon of, oh, I'm just going to read 1 more chapter. Oh, I'm just going to read 1 more chapter. Then I'm going to sleep. And before you know it, it's 2 in the morning, and you're thinking, crap, I've got to get up in the morning. What am I doing? So, yeah, I've lived the just 1 more chapter many, many nights in my life. And this is another Madame Chantilly. It's called Cats in the Rain. And I'm actually going to show the back of the pattern because it's a bigger picture of what it is, even though it's on an angle. But it's this little girl with the yellow umbrella and a whole horde of cats there. I don't even have any cats now, but I am a cat person. and I've only ever had 2 at most, so I'm not the crazy cat lady. But I thought she was cute. Sorry, I have to keep hiding behind the pattern because if I'm out here, I think the camera recognizes and wants to focus on my face. So it's not that I'm trying to hide behind the pattern. This one is by Couleur d'Etoile, and it is Petite Curia, and the pattern is in French. It does not look like it's in English. They do have an Etsy shop. And I'm not sure how well this is going to show up on camera. It's a little picture on like a dogwood branch with a little bird. I don't know what drew me to this one because the photo is actually very washed out and kind of hard to see. It says it's 99 by 62, so it's relatively small. I got most of these I got at the cross stitch cupboard. I don't remember where they were when I showed my haul after the retreat, but then I found these. This is from Luhu Stitches, and it was June's pattern, and it's called Little Summer Fling. And it is just this little strawberry, which I just realized the strawberry will also fit in one of those little tiny hoops, so that's another possibility, or any of those little flower motifs on their wood, although they might be so tiny that you wouldn't even see them. They just look like some kind of little blob happening. But yeah, that's Luhu Stitches. I need to look at Luhu Stitches and see what other patterns they have. This is from Lindy Stitches, and it's Mary Mary Needleworker. And it says Mary Mary Needleworker, how does your garden grow? With hand-dyed fabric, floss, and pins, and scissors lined up in a row. And it's just the bottom of her dress and boots, and then there's some stitchy stuff around there. Okay, that's more true to the color. It looks like I either get the color to show up right, or I get it close enough that it's really big. Oh, wow. I don't know when I'm going to start this one. This one is kind of big, and, well, I say that. Yeah, it's 197 by 161. So in 32 count, it finishes 12.3 by 10 to fit in a standard 11 by 14 frame. I love it when designers do that. Tiny Modernist has some patterns. I think it's her that says they will fit in a 5 by 7. All right, 11 by 14 frame, and that's pretty much edge to edge. So that dress skirt is gonna be a lot of stitching. I wonder if it says how many. 5 skeins. Yeah. Yeah, that skirt and the few little places other than that where you see that color is 5 skeins. They have it in 2 colorways. So here it is in a night. They call it the night garden and the day garden. But I don't have any immediate plans to start that. And then this one they had on the wall at Cross Stitch Cupboard, and it was If Cats Could Talk. And it says if cats could talk, they would probably lie. I know that is kind of true of cats. I never had cats that were like that, but Carolyn told me she was pretty sure it was this one that she had seen where just the cat and maybe a couple of the flowers over here on the side were done, and it was done as a stand up. So I may even try that with it. I wonder if I did it on okay, it's 9 inches high. All right, it's pretty big as is. That's on 28 count. I was saying, oh, I could do a stand-up cat on that 20 count, 2/2 or 4/2, but no, it's plenty big enough if it's 9 inches high on 28 count, because there's not even an inch that would be that if cats that's above the cat itself. So that cat has to be like 8 inches tall. But that could be nice stuffed as a stand-up. I may do that with it and not do the saying. So that was all my haul. That was, let me reference my notes. That was everything I wanted to share. One last thing, the quilt that's behind me is Village, is the name of the quilt. I'm not sure if you can tell. Every door on mine has either a cat or a mouse inside it. And a couple people have asked me who the pattern was, and I wanted to mention it because when I went looking, because I couldn't remember if it was called Village, The Village, what I knew Village was in the name, but I couldn't remember if that was the whole name. When I looked for it on Fat Quarter Shop, it is actually a free download right now. I don't know how long it's been that way or how long it will stay that way. But anyone that would want to try that quilt, you may want to grab the free download from Fat Quarter Shop. It's very easy and forgiving pattern, especially if you use one of the specialty rollers so that you can trim up flying geese, because that's what the roof is actually, a flying geese block. And if you can trim it up, then it makes getting those points on the rooftop at the right place for you really easily. And it's a simple pattern. The quilt actually has like 130 some of those houses on it, so it is a lot of work at full size. I mean, that goes from, I don't know, maybe 3 feet off the floor. It's about 5 feet tall. It goes all the way to the ceiling in this room, so you can't see it, but it is hung on a curtain rod with the clip ring type fasteners right at the ceiling line. So that quilt is huge. When I did it intending for it to be on the wall here. This is my work office, so I work out of this room every day for my real daytime corporate job. And I wanted my workspace to be as bright and cheery as I could make it. And so that's why you see kind of this explosion of color. So that was the Village free download Fat Quarter Shop. It wasn't when I did it. You can buy the pattern other places, but you can download it for free. And then the quilt on the bed here is called Victory Garden, and it's inspired by the British flag. It's not true to the British flag, but it's inspired by that, and it goes very quickly, and each block is large. Like, I want to say each one was 15 inches wide. So it doesn't take a lot of blocks to make a twin size quilt. So I just wanted to share a couple details about the quilts that you're seeing in here all the time with me. But that's all I have for today. I won't have a video next weekend because I will be at StitchCon Weekend B. And I hope everybody this weekend is having a fantastic time at Weekend A. And then I'm thinking after that, I may have my videos go to a 2-week cycle, because I don't know most weeks if I would have enough to show that would be worth your time to tap in and see what I've been up to. So I likely soon will go to a 2-week cycle for my videos. But thank you so much for everybody who has watched and who's commented. I really appreciate the feedback and the ideas and answers to questions that I've posed here. And if you would like this video, if you did like it, if you would hit like, I would appreciate it. And everybody have a fantastic week and happy stitching. And if you're going to StitchCon Weekend B, please make sure and say hi. I would love to meet some people. I've had a couple people reply in comments that they'll be at Weekend B. So I'm getting excited to meet some people in person that I've connected with somewhat, at least virtually. So happy stitching, everybody. We'll talk soon. Bye.